Good afternoon, I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. A special welcome to those of you watching online at onespotmedia.com. Attorneys representing the appellants in the Vibes Cartel appeal today raised concerns about the sentence imposed by the trial judge. In wrapping up his submissions to the court this morning, attorney for Kahira Jones, Robert Fletcher, told the court that the judge failed to apply the right principles in sentencing the men. Cartel is appealing the life sentence imposed on him in 2014 for the murder of Clive Lizard Williams on August 16, 2011. Sean Campbell, Andre St. John, and Kahira Jones were also convicted for the murder. Mr. Fletcher also told the court that the trial judge should have requested a social inquiry report so that he could have more information about the accused men. Opposition spokesman on energy, Philip Paulwell, has taken an about-turn with his stance on the issue surrounding managing director of the state-run National Energy Solutions Limited, NESOL, Carolyn Warner. The details from TVJ's O'Shane Masters.
A 180-degree turn. That's how the latest announcement by opposition spokesman on energy, Philip Paulwell, on Carolyn Warren's position at NESOL is being described. Speaking on TVJ's All Angles last night, Mr. Paulwell admitted that he made mistakes in his approach and has withdrawn his call for her to be fired from her post at NESOL. The issue was first raised when he called for Prime Minister Andrew Holness, in his capacity as Energy Minister, to immediately relieve Mrs. Warren of her duties based on her conviction for narcotics trafficking. But he has been facing harsh criticisms since Mrs. Warren apologized for not declaring her conviction. She said she made a mistake earlier in her life and had moved on. Mr. Paulwell now states that he has regrets about how things unfolded.
No ill meant for Ms. Warren. In fact, I continue to commend her on the way she has been able to turn around her situation. And we are going to see her later on in the committee, and you will see that my disposition towards her will be the same, very respectful and saluting somebody who has been able to turn around their life.
He, however, suggested that an apology will be made to Mrs. Warren personally.
I'll be seeing her today for the first time since, and I always believe that it is important to have one-on-one conversation to clear up issues that might arise.
Do you withdraw the call you made here for her to be immediately relieved of the post?
Yes, because I think it requires more than that. I think we need to probe further whether or not the board itself had mismanaged the situation, did not do their proper due diligence. And so I'm not going to be focusing on her. I'm going to look at the system just to make sure that we can get it right.
He also says it's time for the government to look at legislations which govern the rehabilitation of offenders.
Yes, and I'll be quite happy now being caught in this issue to propose and to assist in leading this way forward. I do believe that too many in our society have been marginalized, have not been given a fair deal after having had some unfortunate experiences in their earlier lives.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
The Ministry of Justice and the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Person say they have been yielding success in the fight against human trafficking. Both bodies provided supporting figures at a press conference on Wednesday, while also outlining plans in recognition of this year's Trafficking in Persons Week. Since 2010, NATFA-TIP has conducted over 750 operations clamping down on suspected cases of human trafficking. Head of the JCF's Anti-Trafficking in Persons Unit, DSP Carl Berry, said 82 victims have been rescued so far. 3 prostitution rings have also been dismantled, and 30 suspected traffickers have been arrested. So far, 5 convictions have been made, with some 18 cases still before the court. One of the convictions was in February of a female, Ocean Morgan.
She, as very young, found an even younger girl. She befriended, they made contact. She lured that girl away from home and facilitated prostitution of that female. And as a result, it culminated in her pleading guilty before the High Court.
She is to be sentenced later this year. As a result of these successes, DSP Berry says Jamaica's international standing in the fight against human trafficking has improved. The island is no longer classified by the U.S. State Department as a transit state, but a problem still exists with Jamaica being referred to as a source and destination country. Permanent Secretary in the Justice Ministry, Carol Palmer, says the fight is now being bolstered through the partnership with the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC. This will provide education and training for team members as well as increased public awareness. This year's Trafficking in Persons Week events begin on July 22 and will extend to World Day Against Trafficking in Persons on July 30.
We hope that the attention and public discourse that will emanate from the week's activities will continue to raise awareness about the plight of victims and why it is necessary for not just a whole of government, which is what we have at the task force, but as I said last year, a whole of country response, and in fact, I dare say, a global response.
The youth arm of the People's National Party, PNP-YO, is urging the government to solidify its response to Venezuela during the country's social and economic crisis. President of the PNP-YO, Crystal Tomlinson, pointed out that Venezuela has helped Jamaica several times in the past and is therefore calling for the help to be returned now. She says what the country has been doing is to help worsen the situation in Venezuela. For instance, she pointed to Jamaica voting on a resolution last month to declare the Venezuelan government illegitimate.
The Venezuelan government illegitimate. The resolution, while not receiving the required votes to be passed, would have seen to further isolation of Venezuela at a time when it needs critical support, particularly from us in the Caribbean region. The PNP-YO is recommending that CARICOM seek to dispatch a delegation to Venezuela on a fact-finding mission independent of extra-regional influence. It is important that we have a non-aligned view of the conditions on the ground to inform any foreign policy approach.
The body of a man was found approximately 20 feet inside an irrigation well in Racetrack, Clarendon yesterday afternoon. The body has been identified as 20-year-old Ainsley Foster, otherwise called Jordan, of a White Road address in the parish. About 1 o'clock, residents discovered the body and alerted the police. Upon arrival, the body, which appeared to be in an advanced stage of decomposition, was seen face down inside the well. The decomposed body was removed and taken to the Maypen Hospital. Mr. Foster was reported missing on July 5 at the Maypen police station. This is the second body found in as many days in the parish. On Tuesday, the partly decomposed body of 82-year-old Adolphus Swack was discovered by a cattle farmer in Moorlands. The Jikwan Iron and Steel Company, Jisco Alpart in St. Elizabeth, has improved their production of alumina by almost 100%. This as Jisco is now able to transport increased amounts of alumina for export. Jisco recently purchased a new locomotive from China at a cost of $800,000. Public Relations Officer for Jisco Alpart, Julian Keane, says the new machinery will increase flexibility and security in production.
This will help us in terms of securing our operations here at Alpart. With only one locomotive in operations right now, having two, we'll be able to move our materials between the plant and the port, especially our alumina, as we increase the output of alumina so we can export overseas. We are up to good production, but I must also tell you, we have a crew here from Jisco who will be here for a year to train the local Jamaicans how to operate this new locomotive, as well as the maintenance of this locomotive.
White sugar being mixed with molasses, an illegal trade practice Agriculture Minister Audley Shaw says the local sugar industry now has to contend with. Speaking at a function in Denby, Clarendon recently, Mr. Shaw indicated that the illicit trade is forcing legitimate traders out of business. And we do apologize for the absence of the audio on that report. $40,000 has been allocated by the Universal Service Fund, USF, to assist the Tablet in Schools program. The announcement was made recently by Science and Technology Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley. The Tablet in Schools project is being used by the Education Ministry along with the Science and Technology Ministry to increase students' interest in science, technology, engineering and mathematics, the STEM subject area.
The truth is that there needs to be a shift in the way our young people perceive the STEM fields. We must begin to see it as a viable career path and as solution or a way of gaining or providing some solutions to our many socio-economic problems.
Wheatley was speaking at a recent Jamaica Teachers Association seminar where he said the full rollout of the Tablet in Schools project should be completed by September. It seems like poor road conditions could prevent a school in southeast St. Ann from reopening in September. The issue was raised by Councillor for the Beecher Town Division, Ian Bell, who said he received a letter he was copied on from the school stating the concern, highlighting the matter. Mr. Bell says with the recent heavy rains, the roads have gotten worse, and so he's asking the council to intervene.
Further reported that 90% of the school population is exported. They have to be transported, and all the transporters have indicated that if nothing is done to this road come September morning, they cannot guarantee the opening of the school.
In international news, police have identified 2 suspects in the poisoning of former Russian double agent Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia. A source with knowledge of the investigation reportedly gave CNN the update.
Yulia Skripal looked well, surprisingly well. The videotape shows her walking, even smiling slightly and speaking strongly. There's no obvious sign that she's recently experienced a life-threatening trauma apart from what appears to be a tracheotomy scar on her throat. It's likely that incision is what allowed her to keep breathing during the 20 days she says she was in a coma. She says she only learnt that she was poisoned after she woke up, that she was shocked to learn that it was because of a nerve agent, and she believes both she and her father, Sergei Skripal, are very lucky to have survived what she describes as an attempted assassination. She's very grateful for the medical treatment and the help that has kept her alive, but she says that treatment was invasive, painful, and depressing.
As I try to come to terms with the devastating changes thrust upon me both physically and emotionally, I take one day at a time and want to help care for my father until his full recovery. In the longer term, I hope to return home to my country. I wish to address a couple of issues directly and have chosen to interrupt my rehabilitation to make this short statement. I ask that everyone respects the privacy of me and my father. We need time to recover and come to terms with everything that has happened. I'm grateful for the offers of assistance from the Russian embassy, but at the moment I do not wish to avail myself of their services. Also, I want to reiterate what I said in my earlier statement, that no one speaks for me or for my father but ourselves.
In sports, 7 Jamaicans are down to compete in the Monaco Diamond League meet, which runs from today until Friday. National champion Elaine Thompson will line up in the women's 100 meters alongside the likes of world leader Marie-Josée Talot's countrywoman Muriel Ahore, and Daphne Skippers. Olympic bronze medalist Hansel Parchment will be in the men's 110-meter hurdles facing competition from record holder Arias Merritt and 2015 world champion Sergei Shubenkov. Yannick Thompson and Shimara Williams will face off in the women's 100 meters against 2008 Olympic champions Dawn Harper Nelson. Commonwealth bronze medalist Natoya Gould is set for the women's 800 meter against Gold Coast gold and silver medalists respectively Casta Semenya and Margaret Wambui. Commonwealth gold medalist Aisha Pratt-Lear takes on runner-up Celestine Chespal in the women's 3,000 meter steeplechase. The lone competitor in the field will be Commonwealth Games champion Danielle Thomas-Dodd in the women's shot put event today. She is up against Olympic champion Valerie Adams and reigning world champion Lei Zhao Gong. Jamaica's other 6 competitors will compete on Friday. And that's the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.